2-Minute Celtics post-game live presented by your New England Ford dealers and Ford trucks. Eddie House, Amina Smith here with you. And the Celtics lose in overtime to the Cavaliers, 114-113. Another overtime loss for this Celtics team, but a roller coaster of a game. And this Cavaliers team, they are the real deal, Eddie. But what was the biggest storyline in this matchup for you tonight?
I think it was just the perimeter, playing perimeter defense. And, especially in that third quarter, I think we got up 12 points, and then we got a little comfortable and kind of relaxed, and then we allowed the Cavs to go on a run. Donovan Mitchell getting into the lane, Darius Garland getting in the lane, dropping passes off for Jarrett Allen to dunk it, giving up offensive rebounds, and just getting killed in the second half in the paint. And I think that was the difference of this game. I think we did a fantastic job in the first half of protecting the paint, not allowing them to get offensive rebounds. They got 6 offensive rebounds in the second half. And so I think that was the main issue. When we started going cold again, we allowed that to affect our defense. And that's been kind of that's a trend that we have going on. And I also think that at times, Joe Mazzulla, you could burn a timeout. If they're going on runs, don't let them figure it out. It's been a few times already this season, and when they haven't been able to figure it out, I think now you got to have to start calling timeout to kind of stop the bleeding a little bit and then draw something up to get a good look, because he's been pretty good coming out of timeouts, drawing up plays. So I think he has to rely on that and trust that a little bit more.
And I feel like we talked about that maybe a week or so ago about Joe Mazzulla saying that he likes to let the guys just figure it out there on the floor, because once they get into the playoffs and if they go to the NBA Finals, it's not going to be the same situation every time where he's able to talk to them and coach them up. But, Eddie, when you take a look at how this game went down at the end of regulation, even at the end of overtime, how much of that comes down to coaching? When you're down 1 point and you're looking to win a game, how much of that comes down to what Joe Mazzulla can draw up?
Well, I think you've seen when he drew up that play for Jayson Tatum, it was a beautiful play. Could have been an and one. I think it was a great play right there. Having the awareness to call the timeout once the rebound came so you could advance the ball, and not allowing Jalen to take a couple dribbles and the clock run out and he takes a Hail Mary shot or a half-court shot, a prayer to try to make the basket. So, those things are I like that from Joe Mazzulla. I like some of the things that he's doing with that, but the main thing that I'm looking at is when these teams go on these runs, and it's happened even against Chicago, when they start making these runs against us, we have to cut that water off a little bit. We have to stop, take a deep breath and then get into something. Just allow your defense to set up after you get a basket. That's another thing. This half, we didn't get out in fast break because we weren't getting stops. We had fast break points in the first half. We were sharing the basketball a little bit better in the first half, and it just seemed like it went the other way. And it all goes from our offense. Early on, we were letting our defense dictate our offense and how good our offense was. And after we got a 12-point lead, we started missing shots, and we allowed that to seep into our defense. 11
lead changes in this game, but in that fourth quarter, Donovan Mitchell, he pretty much took over so that we could go into overtime. And then, of course, Jayson Tatum with the block. But Donovan Mitchell with 25 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists. Eddie, just how did Donovan Mitchell manage to take over this game in the fourth quarter to get the Cavaliers back in it?
Well, that's just what he does. He's been doing that forever. He's an all-star. He's whenever Utah needed, we remember in the bubble, he was making big-time shots in the bubble. He's always made big-time shots. He's a threat out there offensively to get to the basket and to knock down threes. His three wasn't hidden like that tonight, but when he needed to take a big shot and hit a big shot, he did hit that. He hit the big shot on Brogdon on the left wing over there, and that was a big-time shot, and especially with confidence, knowing that you haven't been making shots, to still raise up and take that shot with the confidence he had. It didn't go in clean, but it went in anyway.
Yeah. And Jayson Tatum getting it done on the offensive end and defensive end of the floor, 26 points tonight, but also 4 blocks in this game. Take a look at Jayson Tatum and what he was able to do in this matchup. But, Eddie, what does it say about Tatum, just the way that he was able to play so physical in this matchup, not only score points, but also come up big defensively?
Well, I think it started with him when he wasn't making shots early on. Things was a little tough for him. So he found another way to get himself going, and that's what star players do. They find themselves a way to get going, and it doesn't necessarily have to be scoring the basketball. He got 4 blocks, and that was one of the biggest blocks, and you see him celebrating right there, his teammates celebrating, and right there I thought that was a momentum change for us to really lock back in and lock down defense and make sure that we protect the paint. But you got to give all the credit to the Cleveland Cavaliers, because as many times as we went up and we had opportunities to really kind of put them away, They stayed fighting. They stayed playing their brand of basketball. They never wavered on how they want to play. They continued to attack the paint, and they got plenty of paint touches and plenty of paint buckets. And
both times that these teams have played each other, they've gone into overtime. Let's take a look at how it all went down in overtime between the Celtics and the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers up by 5 right here, 114-109, and then JV, he's going to hit the jumper. But, Eddie, when you take a look at what's happening in overtime, the Celtics, they really had a chance to win this game, but what held them back from getting the W against this challenging, young, scrappy Cavaliers team?
I just think, again, making the stop when you need it. When you're making the stop when you need it and getting the good look. And, again, I think we shot ourselves in the foot a few times. We had some traveling calls. The refs been calling a lot of traveling. We had the offensive foul call on Jalen. And just, sometimes just turnovers that we don't need to make. And it goes like that. It's early, right? It's early, but at the same time, you want to kind of nip some of these bad habits that we have created in the bud and get that out the way. Definitely got to work through some things defensively. That's the one glaring thing from how good we were last year defensively. Looking at us now, it doesn't look like the same basketball team. We're not playing with this. We're not playing with the same intensity Joe Mazzulla chewing that gum with. So I think that's what we have to do. We have to play a little bit harder, a little bit stronger. I want to know what kind of gum he's chewing because it looks like it's so good.
It must be good because he's chewing very hard. I will say that.
And he got to be changing it out. It can't be the same one all game, though. He got to be changing that out.
He might be changing it out. All right, let's bring in Scal, who's live out there in Cleveland at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. And Scal, an up-and-down game, a battle between the Cavaliers and the Celtics. But what was your biggest takeaway after this matchup?
Yeah, I don't think we're anywhere near the level of defense that we had last year. Maybe it's the intensity, maybe it's consistency. At times, we're really good defensively. And then other times, we don't stop the ball. We're constantly in rotation. Kind of guys are pointing the finger, hey, that's your switch. Oh, that's my switch. Last year when they were at their best, they weren't what you call like a strategy defense where they were doing all these crazy coverages. Guys were just sitting down guarding the ball. When they did get broken down, Rob Williams or Al Horford would be at the rim. And I'm just not seeing enough of that. Maybe when Rob returns, it'll be all good. But right now, it just doesn't look like the same level of intensity defensively. I didn't mind the way we played offensively. I know that the Cavs are a good team. We moved it well. We didn't shoot it well, but we got a bunch of wide open looks. But defensively, I just feel like we're not consistently there on the same level.
Eddie, we know.
Scal, I think.
Go ahead, Eddie.
I was going to say, Scal, you talking about like maybe they're waiting for Rob Williams. Well, we don't know when he's coming back. And we keep waiting and losing these close games and picking up bad habits defensively because that's what I see. I see bad habits defensively on the perimeter because they're so used to having Rob Williams in the back. They have to change that mindset. And if they change their mindset to know, like, I have to be at the nail if I'm supposed to be at the nail. I can't allow this ball to get into the paint. I got to make him go to a secondary, a third move, a counter move. I have to make them do that because if I don't, then all you're doing is going to put more pressure on Rob when he comes back, right?
But Eddie,
when you start, go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's like, why are they able to do it some quarters and not others? So that's what I don't. Listen, it's not like they don't do it. They do. It's not like this whole season they haven't had moments where you're like, how are you going to score on this team? They're versatile. They switch. They're tough. But it's not consistent. So we could say Rob Williams, but like they have the team and the bodies to do it. They're just not consistent with it.
And so how do you gain that consistency, Eddie, just to kind of piggyback off of that? Because just like you said, Rob Williams, he might be back in the middle of the season, but then also has to have time to ramp up. So how do they find that consistency in the meantime?
Well, I mean, they have to find it because I'm with you, Scal. They do it in spurts. They don't do it for long periods of time. It's spurts, so they might do it for a 3-minute stretch, and then you might not see it again to the next quarter for a 3-minute stretch. And that's the issue. You have to be consistent with it. They have to get consistent with playing defense hard, like Joe Mazzulla is consistently chewing that gum hard on the sideline. Period.
I think what Eddie wants to know is if Joe Mazzulla ever changed out that gum during the game, because he was chewing very hard. But I know you were on the sidelines. I know you were locked into the game. But did he ever go over and just change the gum out or something?
Hey, Amina, the gum packs are right in front of me. No, I mean, unless someone's delivering his gum, then no, he's not changing the gum out unless he got super gum. I don't know what it is, but he got super gum that doesn't wear out because he'd be mashing on that thing. But it's just I don't understand why the intensity has been up and down. I really don't. We have enough depth at the guard position. Let's call it everywhere but the center spot. We're deep enough. It just doesn't feel like they're playing with that same energy. They played with such an edge last year. I'm not letting my man score on me. You ain't beating me off the dribble. Man, it was hard to do anything against the Celtics. Right now, it's at times it's like that, but it's not consistent. That's pretty much, you can look around the NBA and find a lot of teams that are, besides maybe the Bucks right now, a lot of teams aren't bringing that same level of intensity every night on the defensive end.
Yeah, they have to find that consistency and also intensity that they had last season. All right, thanks so much, Gal. Let's take a break here on Celtics Post-Game Live. A look at that final score in overtime out there in Cleveland, 114-113.